fellow travelers, welcome on in. This is the 140th level of the RPG Cave. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Topher, the level 199 Human Dark Lord, and I am joined for the first time in the fortnight by the level 199 Elf Battle Alchemist, Dr. Garret Bland. How's it going, Garret?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. It was a long drive. I drove back from LA yesterday. So that was fun, doing the drive from LA to San Francisco. Yes, I was in LA for 1 week, or at least starting from at least over a week. I left the previous Saturday and came back this Sunday, so a little bit over a week. And it was fun. It was just some friends down there, and then one of them was graduating with his PhD, so we have another doctor somewhere out there. And yeah, overall good time, good food. Good to be back though. And everything's going fine, man. How about you, Ryan? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. First of all, I'm glad you had a good and safe trip as well, especially because it was like the holiday weekend you went, right?
Yeah, it was. It really passes by me when you're out of town, but then you have to I also did work remotely. So it was just kind of like a mix of I'm doing stuff, touristy stuff. Okay, back to working remotely for a few days, and then going back doing vacations. It was just a weird, limbo time. So there was a holiday Monday. I just completely forgot. And that day we went down to, Hollywood and Beverly Hills and, that side. So it was cool. Got some good food. And nice. Overall, I'm doing pretty good. Also level 140. Ryan, have you ever been in a level 140 of a video game ever in your life?
I think, well, first of all, in Final Fantasy XIV, Garret, there is what is referred to as the Endless Dungeon.
Yes.
Palace of the Dead, which is 200 levels deep. And it has level numbers every time you hit a new level. So level 140, it's definitely there. But then also in Disgaea, Garret, going into Item World.
Yes, that's true.
I've been in a level 140 Item World before.
That's a good one. I was thinking event matches in Super Smash Brothers, but they only go up to 100 or 200. I forget. I would have to check again. But I did I think it's 100 in Melee. So I did all 101 event matches. But man, I don't know if I ever done a 140. Even Maple Story, I think I didn't even hit 140. I hit 120 something, but not 140. So we're reaching its limits here, Ryan. We're going... I
mean, wait till we get to level 300, Garret, and how many other games will really be good.
It's gonna be like a kill screen on the YouTube video.
Also,
no joke.
I'm not gonna lie. I love Seth's comment here. Seth chimes in: "Is nobody rolling the Necromancer class for this episode, considering the show topic, which is bringing RPG franchises back from the dead?" I mean,
yes.
The Dark Lord class has some necromancy ability.
I'm sure you have a spell or two that can lift a freaking skeleton or something like that.
I mean, it's just reanimating the skeleton, Garret. I don't need to lift it or anything.
Okay, well, you know what I mean.
Rise from your grave, just like the intro to Altered Beast. Just the intro to Altered Beast. Rise from your grave.
Just like in Skyrim, one of the first necromancy skills you get is reanimating a corpse.
Okay. A lot of people talk about Maple Story in the chat too. I'm just very sorry.
We're getting into this. This is gonna be a Maple Story episode now.
Apparently.
Let's go.
I don't know jack about Maple Story, so you'd have to.
It is probably one of the, maybe it's the best 2D MMO RPG. I don't know what else. Club Penguin is up there, I guess.
Yeah,
too.
Ragnarok Online too, I think was.
Oh, I don't know what that one is.
2D as well.
Okay. Well, Maple Story was pretty good. Then it really got bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. So don't go over there.
Don't go over there.
Don't
open that door. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. But Garret, I have to bring up Ribo's question because Ribo has a question for you. Ribo says, "Does Blandino go on side quests when he misses an episode?" I mean, I think you do every time.
Yeah, no, because I am doing a side quest literally because I'm doing something else, going off to the side, doing a journey or whatever. I do have three things to get into, Ryan. One is work has been crazy. I don't know why. I just wanted to say it. Work has been crazy, so I said it. There you go. Just crazy busy these days. And then third thing, Balatro.
Oh my God.
I
It's
want to
got
get back
cards.
to it. Yes, of course it has cards. Have I explained this game before in this RPG Cave series?
You did, because you've talked. This isn't the first time you brought up Balatro.
Yeah, it's probably the third or fourth time. It's freaking addicting, and it's like evergreen. And I played it a lot during my LA trip, and it's so good. It's just a really solid card game, endless card game. So there you go.
Seth points out in the chat, by the way. Seth is waiting for Garret himself to do a Maple Story episode.
Seth, I have I could do like 5 episodes or 10 episodes of Maple Story. Like, no joke. So many stories
I
about
actually
that
think
game.
that'd be a fun episode. I kind of want to see you guys do that at some point.
Yeah, no, that is definitely my late middle school, early high school phase was Maple Story. And before that was RuneScape. That was the thing. Yeah.
Nice. Well, anyways, this is the RPG Cave where we talk about RPGs all the time. Sometimes Maple Story, but other RPGs as well. So let's clear the dungeon so we can get to the raid boss as quickly as possible. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of amazing ways you can do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream right meow, right youtube.com/carpoolgaming, or if you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to / that like button, smash kick that subscribe button, and then let it roll your D20, and then let us know in the comments below what number you rolled. And did you get a critical hit or a critical miss? We'd love to hear from you over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. Or if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget you have an important job as well to hit that subscribe button, as well as maybe leaving us a nice review on Apple Podcasts or maybe a rating on Spotify. All that stuff helps the show get discovered. Also, if we want one big podcast feed with the entire Carpool Gaming cinematic universe on it, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming, just like Toxic did, who actually upgraded from the gold tier to the platinum tier. So shout out to Toxic for becoming a platinum producer.
Nice.
Over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. We have some awesome exclusive content like the Pants Patreon podcast for patrons podcast, the Real podcast, which of course starred Ron this week along with Sean, as well as some other cool stuff over on patreon.com. So check on over there. And also, we have a website, carpoolgaming.com, where we have RPG Cave t-shirts as well as other merch from other Carpool Gaming shows. And then last but not least, Garrett, I don't know if you've heard of this little showcase that's happening this week. Summer Game Fest. It's a thing.
I've heard of it.
Yes.
What is
it? Used to be E3, but not E3 this year. It's now we're in the future of SGF instead of
the E3 bubble popped, and then all these kind of fluttery digital shows just went everywhere.
But they're still all at the same time of year, though, so it's basically just the same thing.
Sure.
So starting at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Such a weird time. Is that pre-show?
No, so the showcase starts right at 5. So we're going to start the live stream at 4:45. So we're encouraging people to come watch us over at twitch.tv/carpoolgaming live, where we'll be live reacting to not only Summer Game Fest proper, but then all the other shows that are happening Summer Game Fest weekend, of course, including the Wholesome Direct, the Devolver Direct, Day of the Devs, the Xbox Showcase, Ubisoft Forward, and a whole lot more. So if you are at all interested in any of the shows that are happening this weekend, gaming related, come hang out with us. Twitch.tv/carpoolgaming live. We will actually have a full schedule out fairly soon, so people will know when to check out all the cool stuff with us.
Cool.
So there you go. Also, real quick, on this podcast feed, if you're an audio listener, we are in fact releasing our predictions. Seth, myself, Fee, and Nakachaka all just did a predictions episode for Summer Game Fest. So if you want to know what we predicted after looking into our crystal ball, or Seth, I guess, who arrived from the future to give us his predictions, that's what he said. He used a time machine. You, of course, can listen to the show. It's on this podcast feed or the Patreon feed as well, if you're interested.
I can't wait till Fallout 5 gets announced and released the next day. That's
Please,
that's
go back.
prediction.
If you listen to our predictions episode, there's some crazier predictions than even that. So
yeah, probably.
There actually are. It's wild, man. But Garrett, before we get into the topic, one other thing, we're gonna get sidetracked a little, because I see a quest marker over there, a side quest. We should go over there and talk to that NPC. And you do a little side quest because there was an announcement that was made right before we went live that was a showcase that we didn't even know about. So I want to mention it here. The Metaphor ReFantazio Atlas Exclusive 2 showcase happening on Friday, June 7th at 6 p.m. Pacific time or 9 Eastern Standard Time. It sounds like we're getting another big look at Metaphor, I guess. I don't know what else they have to show, though, because after we talked about it before, like, I think they showed us everything they probably want to show us. But are you at all excited? Are we going to watch this? Like, what do you think about this?
I mean, I'll watch it. I don't think I'll watch it during that time. It is around dinner time for me.
Well, I was going to say, just real quick, we probably aren't going to be live reacting to that one because that takes place during the Xbox Drive this Friday. So
yeah. So definitely not going to happen. But it looks like it's just more Metaphor ReFantazio. It's just reading it. It says, watch this showcase as director Katsura Hashino gives a closer look at the upcoming title. So I would think it's just another lengthy explanation of the game. I hope they just don't reveal so much that, I like that they did the first one just because we just had zero idea what this game's about. And this is kind of like their, I wouldn't say departure, but it's just like a serious side spinoff of away from the Persona game. Not a spinoff, but another just standalone game. And they just wanted to showcase, hey, this is what we're doing differently. And I don't know. I don't think they should show too much. So I'll be cautiously optimistic on that for sure.
Same. That's why I'm hesitating as to whether or not to actually, whether or not I even want to watch the showcase. Because I almost don't want to get spoiled anymore with this game. Because I'm scared of them spoiling too much with the story. The gameplay, I always like learning more about combat systems. But I felt like they did a really big explanation on the combat the last time. So I don't know if they're going to do that again with this time.
Yeah, it looks... Well, okay, so the thumbnail is 3 characters with glowing eyes. You could say it's a Persona kind of homage or whatever, but it just... Maybe they're going to do a little bit more character development of some kind. Like character in-depth looks or more story, as you said, more story-related things. So yeah, I mean, I'll still watch it and see what they have to say, but man, I just hope they don't reveal too much. I feel like they're trying to grab a idea from the Capcom handbook, like Monster Hunter, and it's like, hey, just show everything you got, make it a whole thing, a whole presentation about it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for this one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious. I think maybe I'll find out after it happens, maybe what ended up happening, and then maybe from there, if there's something interesting, I'll check it out. But at this point, I'm already sold on this game. They don't need to sell me anymore. I think they're mostly there are probably some people out there maybe that aren't necessarily sold on this, so maybe that's what this is for. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But it's interesting that it's again the same day as all the other Summer Game Fest stuff, and it basically is following all the other stuff because it's right after the Devolver Showcase essentially. So
yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Also, Garrett, other breaking news that just got announced just now.
Oh man,
that is in relation to an RPG franchise, but it's actually a TV announcement, Garrett.
Huh?
Amazon Prime has announced a Like a Dragon TV show is coming out on October 24th. Because of course there is.
That's hilarious. Is it live action? You said?
Yes, live action.
Okay, no, I'm down with this. Is it like a Japanese TV show? Is it Japanese?
That's all
people?
We have is a picture of the protagonist with a tattoo on his back, with his back facing the camera. That's it. That's all we have to go on right now.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah, in fact, the exact name is Like a Dragon: Yakuza.
Okay, so they just flipped it.
Yeah, essentially that's what they did. But yeah, people are freaking out on Twitter right now, Garrett. People are very excited about this. So
yeah,
I mean, Yarden's freaking out over this. Look at Yarden coming down in here.
Good for them. This cover is so weird though. It looks kind of stylish, and I don't know what to make of it. It doesn't scream out the the main character and his, his comedy.
Right.
He's just so comical in the game. Yeah, no, this will be interesting to see. I've been more hopeful with video game adaptation shows, especially after seeing Fallout. So I expect this one to be, up there.
Yeah. I think it's going to be good. Like, again, Fallout was really good, so I have faith that Prime could actually put out a good, like a Dragon show.
Yeah,
and I think that's
especially
the type
Yakuza.
of,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, because it's so story rich, anyways. Like, I feel like that, and it's based in reality, even though there's some goofy stuff that happens. So I feel like, it's the type of thing that makes for a great TV show. So absolutely, I think that's going to be probably a good show. I think.
Yeah.
When it comes out. In fact, you'll probably get me there's probably a better chance that I finish that show than finishing a game, Like a Dragon game at all.
Yeah, definitely me too. I would watch a season of that before I even go through and finish a Yakuza game. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's where our priorities are.
Yeah. So there you go. This was our only chance really to talk about this, because I think we're going to have a ton of news probably to talk about on next week's show. So please be excited. But anyways, Garrett, we get now 17 minutes into the show.
Any other breaking news?
Transition into our main topic by reading from the sacred texts, because we are going to talk about tonight RPG franchises that we want to bring back from the dead, or to return to us. Baby come back. Like we're just singing Baby Come Back, hoping that these franchises start to come back. Now, I know what some of the YouTube commenter, I already know what you're about to say. Well, Ryan's going to be on his typical Ryan self. He's going to say Parasite
We're
Eve
the Shining Force.
and Shining Force and all the typical Ryan Turford isms. I specifically built a list that does not include the normal Ryan Turford isms. There are some franchises here that I've mentioned on the show before, but not like in the capacity that I have with like something like Parasite Eve or anything like that. So just FYI, I did my best to avoid that type of thing and talk about some games that we haven't either talked about that much on the show or just ones we haven't talked about at all. So
Cool.
I'm excited to get into this, man. So we're going to go back and forth as we usually do, and then just give 3 games each. But Garrett, I've done a lot of talking, so I think I'm going to let you go first on this one while I take some water. So give us your first franchise that you would like to rise from its grave.
Yeah. We'll take some sips over there, Ryan. So I think when I was going through this, looking up RPG series that are dead, I have not played a lot of them. There's a lot that I was like, wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay. Oh yeah, that's kind of dead, but I never played a game from there. I had to dig deep. And so actually, I think a lot of people in our Discord and our RPG Cave channel did a pretty good job of explaining their RPG series. And this one, someone called out, and I'm glad they did. I'm recently playing one of these games intermittently. It's not like I'm deep dive into it. And that is Mario plus Luigi series. Of course, we have recorded an episode covering Mario. Oh, is it like Mario RPGs?
Yeah, just Mario RPGs, because we used it to talk about both Paper Mario and Luigi, because it was like it was really difficult to just do one or the other because they're so closely tied together.
Yeah, for sure. So Mario plus Luigi, made by Alphadrine, mostly. They were doing many of them on really the GBA, like handheld games. So you got the GBA, you got the DS and 3DS. And unfortunately, Alphadrine had to close down because of lack of sales, and now they're no longer around. So Mario plus Luigi is kind of, I feel like the series in general is kind of in limbo. And I don't personally, when I was going through some of these games, and looking at, reviews or whatever, I don't think there's like a really bad one. But yeah, and it's great to see the 3DS remakes too as well. They're really good. They're really well made, and it really captured the Super Mario RPG style. I think arguably more than Paper Mario did, at least recently. So yeah, I'm going through it, and I'm glad one of them is in Nintendo Switch Online. You could play it right now. I think I forgot which one it was.
Superstar Saga.
Is this Superstar Saga? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only one that they really can do because the other ones are on the DS and the 3DS. And I don't know when we're going to get DS and 3DS on Switch online, if at all.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to see any DS or, 3DS type of Mario plus Luigi games in there. But yeah, I've been playing the Bowser's Inside Story one plus Minions because they add the little Minions one. And I like the writing. It's so cute. It's like so self-aware of what this game is. And like, it's just like, oh, I'm a Goomba. I'm stupid. I'm supposed to follow Bowser all the time. And I'm just, why am I doing this? I don't know. Bowser's my master. It's just like that type of writing. And it's not a terribly difficult set of games. It's if you know the Super Mario RPG formula, and understand these games too. So yeah, I would have to give it up to Mario plus Luigi. Hopefully they come back to it in some form or fashion. I think they will too. Just seeing all the activity surrounding Paper Mario and Mario RPG. So
yeah. Because actually, on last week's show, Garret, when when I was doing the show, we got a question about that where people were wondering, well, with the sales of Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door being very high, combined with how well we know that Super Mario RPG the remake sold, like, will there be a new Mario role playing game in our future? And I think there will be. And I think it just depends on whether or not they want to bring Paper Mario back to that style, which I personally don't think they're going to do. I think they're going to continue to do what they're doing with Paper Mario and just having it be like have this different gimmick every time. So maybe either bring Mario and Luigi back or maybe just having a brand new series, like a brand new Mario RPG series of some kind.
Yeah.
But like that's what I see them doing is like one of those two, I think, is where they go with this. But I definitely think we will see a new Mario role-playing game of some kind.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Fortunately, Alpha Dream will be no longer with us, but yeah, I agree with you. I expect some sort of spiritual successor of some kind, whether it be Mario plus Luigi or something else, coming back. I can't wait.
Yeah, I was gonna say like RPGs are starting to become the new hotness again, Garret. I mean, we see Sega going all in now with role playing games.
Fourth time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
but I mean, Sega's all in on role-playing games. That's some of their biggest franchises, and then Square, of course. And there's a bunch of companies now doing RPG stuff. So it's just like, I feel like it's time for Nintendo to bring back, to have like a role-playing game series again that's first party, whether it is Mario or something else. And I think all signs point to people being hungry for that with both Paper Mario and, the remake of Super Mario RPG.
Cool.
So, even though I know Riley King in the chat says we won't, Ryan. I think we will. I think we will. But,
somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. What's your number one dead RPG series you're rising from the grave?
Well, thank you for humbling me with the rising from the grave and dealing with my silly demands here, because my first one is the most cliche Ryan Turford answer that I will give this evening, but I had to include it here because it's on the thumbnail. The Legend of Dragoon from Sony. This is a first-party role-playing series from Sony that's just sitting there, just waiting for either a remake or just a sequel or literally anything for them to do something with this property that has the nostalgic factor for old people like me from the PlayStation 1 era, which is also a big fan base of the PlayStation, the current generation of PlayStation consoles, as people like me that are either nostalgic for PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 games. And I feel like Legend of Dragoon could make a really impressive either remake or sequel in the modern era. It's a really cool fantasy story about this world that's kind of ruled by these dragons, but then you have these characters that inherit the power of the dragons, and they're able to use their powers to either control the dragons and use them to fight this bigger threat that's kind of coming to the land there. It's got like a lot of great twists and a lot of great story elements to the story. I recently replayed this game, Garret, on PlayStation 5.
Cool.
The story holds up really, really well. The gameplay holds up really well. It's got an interesting combat system where it's turn-based, but it's got this like combo-based actions where like you have to time your attacks along with it. It's kind of like Mario RPG, but to a bigger degree, where some of your characters will have like a 2-hit combo, whereas others will have like a 20-hit combo that you have to nail.
Interesting.
And you still land your attack if you miss a beat. It just you just deal less damage for where you kind of miss up in the line. And you can even like assign them because they're called additions in the game. And there's a bunch that are assigned to each character that are either more complex or not. And the more complex ones obviously deal more damage. So it's a really interesting idea for a game that just, again, it's just sitting there, and they were developing a sequel on PlayStation 2 when it got canceled. So it's a series that I know a lot of people look back fondly of nowadays that I would love to see come back. So Legend of Dragoon, I think, is due for revisiting from Sony, especially because Sony first party, like, they're going out, they're paying for these other role-playing games to come to their console exclusively, and that's not panning out super well, but like, they have a first party one sitting right there that they could put money into, and they're just not doing anything with it that people would buy.
It's interesting to see that. I think, I guess they just released it and it's just like, oh, we don't have to go back to it, like, ever again. Maybe they thought about it.
No, like I said, they were developing a sequel for PlayStation 2 that got canceled.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, and then, really when Japan Studio went away, it's just like, okay, we don't really want to do this type of development anymore, and we're just gonna rely on third-party support for really the RPGs, to be honest with you. I mean, you got the first-party suite of third-person action games, and then you got Astrobot with Team Asobi, and there's I can only see one team getting into it, which I doubt they would get into it as what we would like it, and it's actually Blue Point. It's like, oh, let's make a Legend of Dragoon, Dark Souls, Soulborn type of thing. That's the only thing I could think of, Legend of Dragoon coming back up. Because when you mention dragons, you mention this type of combos or whatever, it's just like, this is like, it could be another one of those Dark Souls XX Asian inspired game, which would, I feel like that would make the most sense, but from just, what I could see coming from Legend of Dragoon. But I would definitely like, as you said, just like a remake of, or just like a sequel of Legend of Dragoon. I haven't played it, but you're not the only one that is praising Legend of Dragoon. There's plenty of other
like I said, there's a lot of people on the PlayStation 1. Like, it was one of the top selling games on the PlayStation 1. It's a game that a lot of people played and really enjoyed back then. And and that's the thing. Like, I don't know if the Souls direction would be the way to go. I think it's probably something like closer to Tales is what I would imagine. Like an action RPG with like a combo system is what I imagine, like, would probably be like the best course of action if they wanted to do not a turn-based remake or sequel, but
an action.
Yeah, if they wanted to make it more of an action thing, I would imagine like something like Tales would be a closer comparison, because you already kind of have a very similar combo system. It's just turn-based combos as opposed to action combos. So it makes sense.
Cool.
Yes, that's the one. That's number one from me. But I promise that'll be like that's the most Ryan Turford-ism one you'll get from this episode, I think.
Nice. Cool, man. All right. Well, let me go into my number 2 here. All right. I think they didn't call this one dead, but I think it's dead from an RPG series. And that is actually, I put in, kind of the series together. Etrian Odyssey plus Persona Q series kind of combined. We did get an Etrian Odyssey Origins collection last year, so I wouldn't say it's like, oh, it's completely dead, but, and it got to the Switch and PC. But yeah, other than that, the latest game of the Etrian Odyssey series was from 2018. Nexus. So if people who don't know, it's a third-person crawler dungeon RPG, which I really like from the DS and 3DS days, where you actually use a stylus to map the whole map and the floor, and it's actually very insightful and explorative. And I'm sure it transferred over to Switch and PC quite well. I haven't tried it out yet, but super fun games, super in depth in RPG mechanics, man. It's so deep. Yeah. It's like, this is not for beginners. This is for advanced, I would say, RPG players that know that they're getting into, but they're fun, and their turn-based combat is very typical. I love the class bases. There's so many combos you can do and so many styles you can do. You can make your own characters and build your own classes and so on and so forth. And it's just a grind. It's literally a grind, like, playing any other of those type of games. So yeah, I would like to see its return. I would like to see some Etrian Odyssey new game that's for the Nintendo Switch and PC, that's uses the mechanics of the Etrian Odyssey Origins collection, and just make a new one. But I don't know if they'll. It's been 6 years.
Yep.
So I don't think they're focusing or paying attention to that particular series anytime soon. But I guess last year they tried to see what was the activity.
Yeah. And to be fair, if you hadn't mentioned that collection, Garrett, I would have forgotten that it even came out at all, because they did not market that at all. Like, I felt like it just came and went very quickly.
I saw it recently on sale. It's a weird thing. I think they had all 3 games, Odyssey 1, 2, and 3 together. Maybe more. I don't know. They had it for like $80 or $90, which makes sense because it's literally 3 games in one. They had it recently on sale for like $45 USD. And so I was like, all right, it's getting down there. I understand it being way, over people's prices range, but just understand it's like you can either buy it all together in a bundle or you can buy them separately. It's that type of, collection. So yeah, I just would like to see, kind of what's the next step for this. It's so hard because it just came from the 3DS and DS days, and it's just like, where does it go now? And I guess they were really trying to experimenting with this collection. So hopefully it comes out okay. I honestly think dungeon crawlers are more accessible than people think. There's some on the PS4 that I really liked. So yeah, I would like to see this.
Well, here's the thing. Also, it's owned by Sega, and Sega has been showing us that they're willing to take chances on really small games like this, or smaller series or more niche series like Etrian Odyssey. So I think your wish might be granted, because even though I barely think anyone picked up that collection, I still think they might go ahead with either that or maybe a Persona Q3 or something like that. This is
made by Atlas. This was developed by Atlas. So
right, yeah, that's what I mean. I think Atlas is there. They do the bigger Persona games and stuff that sells, so then they can also do smaller stuff like this.
Right.
So I think you might actually get your wish on this one.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, my next one is one that has been long buried, Garrett, that I don't think is ever getting a sequel.
It's in the ground.
This one is a Capcom game, a Capcom RPG, that started in the 90s on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. This one, Breath of Fire. It's like a fantasy role-playing game, turn-based, very similar to Final Fantasy. But Breath of Fire as a series, they tried a bunch of different stuff with it. They did action RPG versions, and they did a bunch of different styles of games. But I mean, the last Breath of Fire game came out in 2016 on mobile phones and Japan only.
Man.
And the last game before that, Garrett, 2002's Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, which is like an action RPG.
Man.
Yeah, this is a well-beloved series that people really love, and there's actually some nostalgia for this one. And looking at just the Wikipedia article and reading some more about it with some of the articles that it linked, the series has sold almost 4 million copies across the 4 games that it has. So I mean, it didn't light the world on fire, but it also is one of the higher selling franchises that Capcom had at the time that these games were coming out, especially across 5 games, not including the mobile game. I think that's pretty good. So it's a series that it makes sense to bring back, and it's one that I'm actually kind of surprised Capcom just never went back to. We're getting a bunch of these revivals of old Capcom franchises, but it's just it's one of those ones like Dino Crisis that's just sitting there that's really good, but they'll just never. I just feel in my heart of hearts they'll just never go back to, which is too bad, because the Breath of Fire games are really good, and if people have never played them, the first 3 games on Super Nintendo are really, 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 really solid. So they're definitely ones to check out, especially if you like turn-based role-playing games. I think they're very good games. So Breath of Fire, man, just got to give it a shout out, man. I love me some Capcom, and I love turn-based role-playing games, and I just want them to bring this back. Even if they brought it back as an action RPG, I'd be fine with it. But just not even that.
Yeah, and they got Dragon's Dogma 2 out,
Yep.
and I think they're like, oh, that was our... Well, I wouldn't say evolution. I wouldn't say that, but this is our other, fantasy RPG like series. Yeah, I never played Breath of Fire. I do have the Breath of Fire. I think maybe it's the first one or whatever was on the GBA, the Sacred Stones. That's the one on 3DS with the Ambassador certificate with it.
Right. Yeah. It was. I think it was a GBA remake of the first Breath of Fire game.
Got it. Yeah. So definitely need to play that. And then I don't know if is some on Nintendo Switch Online. I don't
know.
No.
I will fact check for you if you.
Yeah, sure.
Continue talking.
Well, Breath of Fire, I just don't. I'm not really knowledgeable as much. I know Blaze Knight, a frequent listener to the show, he's really into the Breath of Fire series, and it looks good. I actually did play the beginning of the first one a little bit via emulator, and it looks very. It's very. I wouldn't say typical, but like, I'm not used to 2D old RPGs. Like Golden Sun. It reminded me of Golden Sun a lot. A boy wakes up in his house or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of got like that same kind of beginning where like the town's on fire and stuff.
The town's on fire, yeah.
Yeah. And I just confirmed Breath of Fire 2 is on Switch Online.
Okay, at least one of them is in there.
Yeah.
So
well, there you go.
Cool. Breath of Fire, I'll be down. Another RPG series coming from Capcom. Bring it.
Exactly.
I would like it.
Yeah, I just want. This is more just a sign as well of frustration that Capcom. I just want them to spread their wings a little bit beyond Dragon's Dogma and Monster Hunter and Resident Evil. I want more, Capcom. I want more. I'm just.
It's literally Resident Evil and Monster Hunter. That's like they just go back. They just milk that cow.
You had Exoprimal in there somewhere too, and Street Fighter. I guess that you.
Okay, Street Fighter. Yeah, that's another big one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. Yeah, it would be nice to, hey, let's explore, even just giving licensing it to an indie game developer. Like, yeah. I think Capcom and, let's say, Konami, maybe Square Enix a little bit, they have enough IP where they're like, hey, let's invest in an indie studio to make something. Maybe they have looked at it and maybe fiscally they just like it's just not worth it. But at the same time, if you have the IP and you have people who are just really into the series, they're just talented people out there. It's just like why not? That would be super cool to see. Some revival of old, just series in general into the indie space. That would be pretty cool. But
now, Riley King chimes in with the comment, well, don't forget about Devil May Cry, Ryan. But I feel like Capcom may have forgotten about Devil May Cry.
Ryan, they forgot about it.
Because it's been 5 years since Devil May Cry 5 came out, and we haven't heard anything else about Devil May Cry since then. So
isn't that interesting?
We are starting to get to that point where we might be starting to consider Devil May Cry a dead franchise again.
Well, I mean, Dragon's Dogma was a dead franchise until 2 came out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like it's entering, the same bucket of that as Dragon's Dogma was before,
Yeah.
I just broke Riley. I just ruined Riley's day. I'm sorry, Riley.
Well, DMC5 is great. So you guys go out and play it. It's a super fun action game.
I'm more just sad that we never got a sequel to the DMC game by Ninja Theory, because I like that game a lot.
Is that the same Ninja Theory as we know in the Xbox Studio Ninja Theory?
Yep. They made DMC, which was the reboot of Devil May Cry.
That is so interesting to hear.
Yeah. That game was really good. I really like that game. But I also really like Ninja Theory. So I think they made good games. But Garrett, give me your final series that you feel needs to come back before we do some other mentions and of course hear from the NPCs.
All right, well, I'm gonna praise Nakachaka here because
Oh.
I want to I at least need to put this series in for him, but for myself as well as a serious card game fanatic, and that's Bad Kaidos needs to come back, man.
Oh my god.
It
came back last year though.
It did not come back last year. Don't say that.
It came back in quotations.
Yeah. Barely any marketing. No, like I mean.
Oh come on! It had that one ad spot in the Nintendo Direct when they announced it.
Yeah. No, exactly. And everyone just forgot about it. So yeah, the Bad Kaidos. I know the remakes of the two came back last year, but you and I both know it did not make a big splash.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
I think I would be surprised if over 5,000 people bought that game.
Well, no, I think because it's a Nintendo Switch exclusive game and as a Nintendo property, true. I would guess it would be in at least tens of thousands of copies.
I mean, Ken Ainsworth bought it. That's
I would not say 100,000.
True,
but below that. Yeah. So this is very one of those hidden gems. I still need to go through. I went through a good portion of one of the Bad Kaidos. I did the first one, and it was just downright hilarious. Game. You like have a banana and you can like use the banana card to hit monsters or whatever. But anyways, yeah, it's a card RPG series. It's pretty dated. The writing's pretty rough. But it's fun because it's cards and I love cards, card RPGs. And I'm just imagining a Bad Kaidos like a new game, just like just imagine in your head, Ryan, what would be in a Bad Kaidos sequel or whatever. It's just like they could do so much. And I think a lot of studios out there has done quite a bit in terms of card mechanics. You've seen SteamWorld Quest, you've seen Wild Frost, you've seen Balatro, right? You've seen Slay the Spire. Like all of these studios have really great now card RPG mechanics, and it's like, okay, why not try to refresh this franchise with some actually good writing, but also updated game card mechanics. That would be super cool. Like, I would like to go through a fantasy RPG series where I customize my deck, my card game deck. That would be so cool to do. But lo and behold, we don't have that type of game. And
the closest we got is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where with Queen's Blood, you got your deck of cards.
That's true.
Challenge random people to the mini game of Queen's Blood. That's probably the closest.
That's probably it's a pretty good, well established one. But I want my own. I want my own card game. Like Bad Kaidos the Third. That would be great. So now, there you go, Ryan. My final series.
I was gonna say, if they ever bring back Bad Kaidos, Garrett, would you want Monosoft to be the ones that actually make it, or someone else?
Oh, that's a hard one. No, I think they have not. They haven't done a card game since Bad Kaidos. Like that's the only games that they've done. No, I don't want them to go back to that. I think that gets away from the trademark that they are now. These, I wouldn't even say action RPGs. They're like semi-action RPGs or whatever.
They're like MMO simulators.
They're literally MMO simulators. No, I would like a different studio to take the helm on this. I would like an indie studio to again, there's so many examples that did such a good job. So I just give it to one of these studios that actually know what they're doing with card mechanics, or just hire the people that that do know this. I think there's a lot of, and there's of course, you're a Magic player yourself. There's Hearthstone. Like there's so many great examples of good card game mechanics.
100%. And in fact,
I would like it.
Speaking of Magic Gathering, Garrett, I got my notice the other day. My Hatsune Miku cards are coming.
Oh,
they're going to be here soon. The shipping notice is out there, so I'm excited to get them in the mail. Take pictures of them. It'll be great. But I want to answer Riley King's question here in the chat. Because Riley King has an unrelated question. He asks, is KOTOR remake still happening? What is the status on that? So the status on that, Riley, is that after Aspyr kind of bungled the project, Saber Interactive, who was publishing it, took it back. And they have consistently told people in interviews, KOTOR remake is still happening, and they are the ones developing it. So they brought it in-house at Saber Interactive. And Saber Interactive, which I think is part of Middle-earth and Friends, is currently developing this game.
No, I don't think so.
Or are they a different? Are they on?
They're independent.
Oh,
they actually got a group of investors. Let me just make sure I'm getting this correctly. I don't want to misspeak, so let me.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with the KOTOR remake, as far as who is actually what the development actually happens with that game.
Yeah, so Saber Interactive has become independent. Following a $247 million deal. It was a group of investors that is now funding Saber Interactive. So they're in its own separate thing. And you are correct. Aspyr just did not do a good job, and Sony pulled out their support on the game, like 100%. And so now it's just in-house. And yeah, as he said, the CEO of Saber Interactive is like, yeah, we're working on it. Just calm down.
Yeah,
we're
calm your farm.
It.
We're working on it.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, as for me, Garrett, with my final series, and I'm going to go back to Sony again, because of course I am. Because now that I'm part of the PlayStation Drive, Garrett, I feel like I need to represent Sony, I guess, more for some.
I guess so
on the show. But no, actually, these were two series that really just came to mind. In fact, there's multiple RPG franchises that Sony has that's just sitting there.
That's
that they're
true.
doing literally nothing with.
Yeah.
That they publish and that they own. And one of them was a collaboration that they did. That was just published by Sony, but they didn't develop it themselves. This was developed by Level 5. And the game in question is Dark Cloud.
Yep.
Dark Cloud on the PlayStation 2, and of course its sequel, Dark Cloud 2, were like two really interesting games where they were basically action RPGs that also mixed in city building, where essentially you would go out in the world and you would get materials for your town, and then you would go back and then use those materials to build your town. In a lot of ways, it feels similar to what ended up happening with something like Stardew, but instead of developing a farm, you're developing an actual town.
Like Dragon Quest Builders.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good comparison as well.
Yeah.
Something that Dragon Quest Builders is a good example. But,
oh man, I need to play these games now. You just got me hooked. And it's like, all right.
Well, luckily, Garrett, they still exist because they are on the PlayStation 5
True.
store, because they're playable on PlayStation 5.
I think I have Dark Cloud 1 on there.
Yeah, and they're part of the PlayStation Plus extra package as well, if you're signed up for that as well. But because these were two of the ones that I guess they decided to bring over from PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 and 5. So, the Dark Cloud games were super cool at the time. Again, Dark Cloud 1 was actually like a launch window title for the PlayStation 2, so just a lot of people who had PlayStation 2s ended up picking it up because it was just one of the only role-playing games that was around. And the first one was good, but it just, it had some problems. But then with the sequel, Garrett, like Level 5 knocked it out of the park with that one, because they kind of went all out, and it was actually a really solid game with a great story, cool characters, and they really just, nailed all the aspects of the game even more than the first one. So I really hope that one day Sony is just like, you know what? Well, let's just dust off this old franchise. We'll either get Level 5 or another studio to come in there, since, cozy games or, city building games are kind of like all the rage now. Let's make another Dark Cloud game. Have someone else do it. Like, even if it's an indie studio, to your point, Garrett. Like, I think that would be super interesting. Like, one of these studios that is maybe known for these, like, cozy style games, maybe having them take a stab at something like Dark Cloud. I think that would be super cool. Yeah. So that's a franchise from Sony that I would love to see come back. That is, again, it's just literally sitting there that they're doing nothing with, that they haven't done anything with since the PlayStation 2. But I also know, again, like, this is a game series from those two games that people are nostalgic for, and people still talk about today as being like a series that they really love. So Yes, 100% would love to see that.
Cool. I mean, I would agree. It's sad that I haven't heard much of Dark Cloud, and the only reason I know Dark Cloud is, as you mentioned, it porting over to PS4 and PS5, and that's really all I know about it.
Yeah.
But as you were explaining how it's more like, building your town or whatever, it's just like, oh, that would be kind of cool to play, and then also to see another studio take the helm at it as well. But
Yeah.
lo and behold, again, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, level 5's still around. You can get them, but I'm like, it probably doesn't need to be level 5.
What are they doing these days?
I think they were teasing that they have this big project in development, because Seth was talking about it, because that was actually one of his bonus predictions on the Summer Game Fest predictions that we did. So yeah, I think that they're still around. They have like something.
I mean, they did Ni no Kuni.
Yeah, they did those games.
And Yokai.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, no,
they have
got
Deca Police coming out. I forgot about that.
Deca Police. Well, I guess it's coming up. And it looks very similar to Astral Chain, and then what's that other game? Oh gosh, what was that other game that came out that just on Switch last year, and now it's out on other consoles? Oh man, it was the Danganronpa people.
Mystery Detective Archive Rain Code.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, it looks very similar, like a mashup of Astral Chain and that. So, looks cool.
Yeah, I was also looking through this as well. I didn't realize that they developed Jeanne d'Arc on the PSP. That's a really good strategy role playing game. So shout out to level 5. I think they're
shout out to level 5.
Yeah, but there you go. So, any honorable mentions before we get to the NPCs, Garrett?
I put the Chrono series in here, but it sounds cliche.
Yeah.
At some point, I wouldn't like really a. It's not that I want to rise Chrono series from the dead. I really want to rise the Chrono Trigger mechanics from the dead, like Sea of Stars did a pretty good job of. Like, I just want to see more of those type of games in general. So that's one of my honorable mentions. I know there's plenty of others, but there wasn't one that I was like, oh my gosh, I need to passionately honorably mention that studio or that series. So what about you, Ryan? You got any honorable mentions?
I sure do, Garrett. I have a whole bunch, actually.
I bet you do.
I do, actually. So one of them is actually Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah, that was one that I thought about. Yeah.
Yeah, because we got that collection last year. So it's not dead, but it's kind of in the line with some of the ones you talked about, where the series itself seems like there's never going to be a new entry, but the collection just came out. But that collection sold very well, so I think there might actually be a chance for a new one.
There's a lot of hype around that for sure.
Yeah. I also have Jade Empire from BioWare.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
I feel like they're never going back to that, but I would love to see a new Jade Empire. In fact, like, it's been like a common theme where I was like, I could really go for a martial arts RPG. And we haven't gotten really one of those since Jade Empire, which is why I was like, oh, well, Mortal Kombat.
But you got Yakuza. You got Yakuza, Ryan.
Well, that's different, though. That's a turn-based one. No, but Jade Empire wasn't a turn-based game, though. Jade Empire was very similar to something like Dragon Age, where it was an action RPG where you were doing punches and kicks, but then you also had like a tactics kind of thing where you could go use different abilities or between your party members, or you also had like a slow-mo thing where you could like run around the enemies and stuff like that. Like,
cool.
Yeah, so it had a lot of unique elements that really separated itself from both the other BioWare games, but then also just other stuff out there like Yakuza. But Wild Arms, of course, speaking of Sony.
That's a big one.
Yeah, the Wild West role-playing game that is literally, again, just sitting there in Sony's vault that they're doing literally nothing with.
Other than porting them.
Well, even then, they brought back, the PS2 entries, but like, I would love to see Wild Arms 3, 4, and 5 now that we're getting PS2 games on PlayStation 5. But even then, I really want them to do a new one, because again, we just don't have Wild West role-playing games, Garrett. Like, that's the thing. Like, if we had Wild West role-playing games, I wouldn't care as much, but we don't. So I would love to see more of them. And then the last one is the Lufia series, of course, going all the way back to the Super Nintendo. I've talked about the Lufia series before, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But that was kind of my last one on the list here. So there you go. That was all I had. But let's hear from the NPCs, Garrett, the non-podcast characters, as it were. So, by the way, shout out to all the NPCs who wrote in this week.
Shout out.
Yeah, we got a lot of great suggestions and comments this week. So first off, the first set I'm going to read here are, because of course we asked people, of course, what RPG series they would like to return. So we're going to go through that. So first off, we got Let's Go Panthers. Garrett, do you understand the reference that is going here with this gentleman?
It sounds like a sports team, so I'm going to go with that.
What kind of sports team, though? What sport do you
Carolina?
think? No.
No? Oh, which one?
So this is the Florida Panthers in the NHL. They've made it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Oh, good for them.
They are up against the Edmonton Oilers. So.
Oh, wait, Dallas Stars failed?
Yeah.
They lost. They lost to the Edmonton Oilers? Is that what?
They lost in 6.
Sean, why you do this to me?
I know. That's what I wanted to see the Stars versus the Panthers in the final. That would have been so cool. But honestly, I mean, I've been like secretly like a closet Florida Panthers fan for a while now, and I kind of want to see them go all the way this year.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But anyways, Let's Go Panthers says, should Golden Sun make a return? And then he has a follow-up question. But should Golden Sun return? I, for a long time, would have put Golden Sun in the category where I think it should return, but I actually kind of don't want it to. I think the 2 games that they did, where you bring over your save between the games, totally concise story between the 2 of them, and it wrapped up nicely. And there was a 3rd game that just wasn't as good because honestly, I don't even think they needed to do a 3rd one.
Sounds good. I would agree with you. I struggled to get through this game, so I kind of stopped, paused, and not playing it anymore. I should go back to it now since it's Nintendo Switch Online, but whatever. But man, if it ever did come back, it cannot be Camelot.
No,
it cannot be.
No, because Camelot, like that studio is just sports people now. Like it's not.
Yeah.
There is not the RPG talent left there at Camelot at this point.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be someone else to do that. But also a bunch of people in the chat the Lightning are actually Florida's team. They're not. Adam David, there's only one team that has Florida in the title of their name, and that's the Florida Panthers. Tampa Bay Lightning is representing Tampa Bay, Florida, but they don't have Florida.
Tampa Bay Lightning, what a team.
Yeah, they got a lightning bolt on their jersey, Garrett. Okay, they're the Lightning.
Like the Chargers.
Kind of like the Chargers, yeah. But they're Lightning. So, Let's Go Panthers. Follow-up question though: how would a carpool gaming RPG look like? I think we've answered this one on the show before, because I think we've gotten this question before.
Oh, we did.
It might have been months ago though, so it's been a long time. But
okay,
I remember us discussing it where it was like most of the carpool crew, except for Lachlan, Amanda, and I, are like the villains, and y'all are like trying to take us down like our insidious plot to just have anyways be like part of the main language or something like that. I don't know, man. It's a weird story, but
that's a good story. I would say, I would say more. Let's give it an Earthbound vibe to it. Like all of us in a party, we're doing crazy stuff. We're just hitting all the podcasts. See, I feel like we're like our own podcast group, and we have to face all the other podcast groups out there.
Oh, okay.
That type of vibe going, and there's cute writing, and there's homage to all of our inside jokes and battles and enemies. We should make we should just make it in the what's it called, the RPG.
RPG Maker.
Yeah, we should just make one in the RPG Maker. I like
that idea. Yeah, I mean that's slightly different from the Undertale / Earthbound RPG I suggested on last week's show, which was Friends, the one with all the stats, of course, a Friends based Undertale.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. See, it's a great idea. I don't know why people laughed at that. All right, moving on. We got The Good Sir, who says, that one RPG series I'll forever and always carry a flag for and hope against hope that we get a 3rd game in is Dark Cloud. The first two games on the PlayStation 2 are absolute bangers. I replayed them when they got ported to PlayStation 4, even platinuming Dark Cloud 1, and they still hold up to this day. Please, level 5. Come back to that series. So look at that. Good Sarah on my side with Dark Cloud. But next one, this one goes straight to my heart, but I've talked about this enough on the show that I didn't want to bring this up. Skycatcher Reflectin says, I'd love to see Project Cross Zone come back. It would be cool to see which new characters that they would add. What characters would y'all like to see in a new Project Cross Zone game?
Ooh.
Do we need Dragon's Dogma characters to go into Project Cross Zone?
That's what I'm thinking. There's like an Elven Warrior person. We should put the literal dragon in there.
Oh my god.
That would be pretty funny. There's plenty of main characters. You know, but that's the problem with Dragon's Dogma too. It's a fun game, but the characters are not memorable whatsoever. So
Yeah.
it's just like you put a random character in Project Cross Zone, you have no idea.
Well, they did some of that with some of the side characters that you get later. There's like no name kind of characters that you get in that game. But yeah, like I would like to see. I mean, first of all, we got to get some of those characters from Exoprimal because they're very memorable, Garrett. Some of the Exoprimal crew in there. Honestly, I would love to see more Resident Evil characters because we really only have Chris and Jill as kind of the main cast, and then Nemesis is one of the enemies. But I'd love to see more Resident Evil characters, some more Tales characters. Maybe some more Monster Hunter characters. But most importantly, Garrett, Project Cross Zone has Sega, and none of them have Sonic in it. And I'm like,
why not?
We need to bring Sonic in, but more importantly, Garrett, this year is the year of Shadow. So we got to bring Shadow the Hedgehog in there. Like, why not? What are we doing here?
How is it the year of Shadow?
Oh, you don't remember this announcement?
I think I permanently blocked it from my mind.
Earlier this year, when Sega announced that they're doing the remake of Sonic Generations plus Shadow, which is coming out this year, they announced along with that announcement that 2024 is the year of Shadow, where Shadow is, of course, going to be in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie. He's in Sonic Generations plus Shadow, and they said more Shadow-related announcements are coming. It's like the year of Luigi all over again, but this time it's Shadow the Hedgehog.
We just need these characters are so unimportant that they need a whole dang year.
100%.
From a publisher in order to, give a character. I can't anymore, man. This marketing terms, I just can't. I'm tired. I'm tired, Ryan.
I've seen too much.
I've seen too much. I'm good.
Oh, but also this would open the door, Garrett, because I think when Project Cross Zone 2 came out, that was before Sega bought Atlas. So they could bring in a bunch of Atlas characters into Project Cross Zone, like Persona characters. They could bring, Vincent from Catherine in there. And he could be goofy, kind of like Phoenix Wright is in the game. They could bring in like some of the Dragon's Crown or the 13 Sentinels characters. Like they could do all kinds of cool stuff now that, Atlas actually is part of the equation here.
Sure. Sounds good. I like it. Let's do a Project Cross Zone 3.
Project X Zone 3, which is actually the 4th game in the series, but we're not.
We'll just keep it as that.
Gotta keep it as that. And then we've got Saboy Prime, who says, I'd love to see Wild Arms, Knights of the Old Republic proper, and Suikoden come back. And Ron clarified in the Discord that he means Knights of the Old Republic like in the old style of Knights of the Old Republic and not
I see.
an action RPG remake, which is kind of what they're doing with the remake of it.
Yeah. That would be cool. I think, unfortunately, those old BioWare RPGs are, man, I just don't see them around anymore. You don't see that type of format in an RPG.
You might have something very similar with Baldur's Gate 3, though. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is similar to it.
It's similar, yes, for sure. Follows the D&D rules, but yeah. Cool. Wild Arms is a good one, and Knights of the Old Republic. I would like to have a new one of that too. And then Suikoden, you're getting the collection from Konami.
Yeah, it's technically coming back. Maybe this year. They still haven't announced when that's coming out yet. So
Eiyuden Chronicles is out, I guess, and people like it or people don't like it. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Garrett. It's now time to hear from Sean Capri. I don't know if you've heard of this individual before.
He seems familiar.
Sean Capri says, hi. are there any RPG series that are so precious that you actually don't want them to come back? What are some of your untouchable series that are best left alone? First of all, Sean, I love this question.
This is a great question.
Out there because, you know, I think about this all the time with movies in particular, because movie sequels, it's different from video games, because video games, a lot of times the sequels are usually better than the OG games, or at least there's just precedent for do that, because they're games they can be iterated on. But movies, that's not the case. So when, like, Ghostbusters is one of those series, Garrett, that should have just been one movie. Like, I don't know why they keep making Ghostbusters movies. They should have just kept it at one, and it would have been fine. But they had to keep going with it, and it's just a whole thing. So
it's pretty rough now.
So that's what I kind of liken this to, where it's like, what series don't need to come back? And you mentioned this one earlier in your honorable mentions, but I'm just going to come out and say it. They never need to make another game in the Chrono series ever again.
Okay, cool.
In fact, I hope that they don't, because both Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger are both precious games to me. And don't get me wrong, I feel like they could, in theory, nail the formula for that and do another successful one. But honestly, I feel like they would just screw it up. And I just don't have faith that there would be a really good new Chrono game, which would be cool. Again, I would love to see it, but I just personally don't see it happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, again, I only mentioned it in my honorable mentions just because I just like the Chrono Trigger mechanics. It's just like, put that into everything, man. That I would eat that up. Like,
I 100% agree with that, because those mechanics should be in more games, for sure. In fact, the fact that there weren't more games mechanically like Chrono Trigger is just,
it baffles me. It really does. Like, it's in Sea of Stars, and the only other game I could think of that's remotely tied to it, it's a weird one. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's in there. A little bit of the mechanics in there. But you just don't see it that often, and it's just like, it's perfect. It's a perfect system. Like, I don't know why anyone else is doing this. Series that, you know, I can't really think of an RPG series, to be honest with you, Sean. But what I will tell you is a non-RPG series that I know they're gonna go back to this and milk the cow, but I hope they don't do it too much. It's BioShock. BioShock is it's the trilogy, has some DLC. It's one of the best games ever made, to be honest. I love that series to death. I love the first person simulator. I've come to learn when I've been playing Prey, I guess I just really like these games a lot. So I would say BioShock, and sorry for a non-RPG genre. It's just I honestly can't really think of one as like, oh my gosh, don't touch that RPG series, that's dead. I just think because there's a lot of studios that can nail an RPG game, or at least have a new fresh coat of paint or whatever. It has an essence to it. But with BioShock, it's like, man, don't touch that. Those are set masterpieces for me. It's just, anyways.
Not only that too, but like RPGs is one of those genres in particular where we see it a lot with a lot of franchises where they don't continue the story. Like, they'll do like side stories in the same world,
exactly,
or they'll be like, hey, mechanically and thematically they're sequels, but they're not actually sequels. Like Persona or Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest, like a lot of those games don't really tie together. There are some in the series that do, but they're not all like that. And I feel like RPGs, more than any other genre of game, are besides like, sports and puzzle games and stuff, like they're the type of games that are just like that, where they're more standalone. So I don't feel like we have too many examples of something like that. But of course, Rybo chimes in with the most obvious answer of all: Various Daylife stands alone forever. So, I mean, we just
Rybo just kills me with this Various Daylife every time. That game shouldn't exist. That's the thing. It's just like, it should not exist. It should not be out there in the world, but it is. So
also, I'm just going to throw it out there. There never needs to be another Vagrant story, but not because it's precious to me, but because there never needs to be another one of those games. Or same with Threads of Fate. Square, don't ever do another Threads of Fate. We don't need to add. Those are old PS1 games, Garrett, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, there's definitely some bad RPGs. It's like, don't ever do that one again.
Yeah.
What's the newest one? The Fantasy Saga or whatever coming from Square Enix. What's it called again? Not Fantasy Star, but what? Oh gosh,
I don't even know what you're talking about.
the Emerald game. I don't know.
Oh, Saga. The Saga Emerald,
that's it.
Emerald Dream. That's already out. They came out in April.
It came out.
Yeah. They came out a long time ago. They
know
released the demo 2 weeks before the game came out.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah,
that's another one of those games that just came and went. But
They don't need to touch that ever again.
Saga? But people like Saga.
Do they?
No. I shouldn't say that. I think there are actually people that like Saga out there. So you and I are just not those people.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah. Ryu actually asked a similar question, but I'll read it here. Ryu says, my go-to game has always been Xenogears. I would love to see the original version of all 6 games released in the Xeno series. Of course, I'm guessing Ryu's lumping in, of course, the Xenosaga games into here as well, because although they're not really all connected. Like the Xeno Blade games are connected, tangentially through the stuff in the future connected, but like they're not really connected to Xenosaga or Xenogears. So I don't really know.
Did you see the latest rumor that Monolith Soft is working on like a huge
they're working on
collaboration?
They're working on Legacy in quotation.
Legacy, and then there's a bunch of characters there. It's just like, oh.
Well, I mean, I think that's just the poster just posting that on there.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that has anything to do with the code word. I think, and what I get from that is either like either a brand new IP or maybe Project Crosszone or like some kind of crossover game. Whether it is, maybe them starting to bring some of these games together, but I don't know. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Garret, but I feel like in multiple interviews, the Monosoft staff keeps telling us they're done. They're done with Xeno games. They don't want to do anymore, or at least Xenoblade. At least they're done with.
Yeah, no, you're right. So we'll see what they do next. I'm very curious. Legacy is an interesting project title, though. It's just like you're not putting that word out for a new IP. You really are not. You're putting that out because there's a purpose of that word.
Part of me feels like that's a crossover game of some kind.
Yeah.
That's my read on it. And honestly, I would love it if it was just Project
Xenoblade
or something
Legacy.
like that.
Let's go.
Or what if they crossed over like different companies as well? Like if it wasn't Sega, Capcom, and Bandai Namco this time.
I want Mario to punch Pyra in the face. Well, we got that.
You already got
Smash Brothers.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you know how to do that. But the second part of Ryu's comment, of course, is there an RPG series you don't want to see any more games for? We just touched on that, so apologies. I meant to read those together, but then I forgot that I was supposed to read them together. So sorry, Ryu. But last question of the week, Garret, comes to us from Nagachaka, who says, what RPG series should Nintendo bring back, and why is it Batten Kaitos?
But it's because card RPGs are awesome, Nagachaka, and we should all embrace that. And we should embrace a third Batten Kaitos game, even though that they're pretty mediocre in their own stance. They are card RPGs, so they should be high praised. So there you go, Ryan. That's my answer.
In fact, you had a couple Nintendo RPGs because you had that and Mario. So I didn't really have one, but again, we talked about Golden Sun and how, honestly, I hope that they don't bring Golden Sun back. And then we're just out of RPG franchises because Fire Emblem's not dead. It's clearly not dead. It's still around.
Definitely not dead, Jim.
We'll be hearing about it again soon. So I think that we're out of RPGs from Nintendo at that point.
Pretty
I
much.
guess Earthbound.
Pokemon.
Well, Pokemon's not dead either. So
it's definitely not dead.
But I mean, even if Scarlet and Violet tried to kill it, Garret, it's not going anywhere. And then and Earthbound, but I don't like those games either. In fact, I that's another one where I feel like, fans keep asking them for them to make another game, but do fans really want another one of those games? Because I almost feel like that might ruin some of the magic if they did another one of those.
Yeah. It's Earthbound's a weird one because it's really for the hardcore Nintendo fans that like. It's either they played it, the first time Super Nintendo, or they're like, oh, I'm really into Nintendo. Let's go back and play this weird down to earth or Japanese interpretation of America in a comical way. It's just so weird. And but what I really like about Earthbound is it inspired a lot of other RPG series for sure. Not series, but games in general. Undertale, but there's some few other indie games. They're like, oh yeah, Earthbound's a huge inspiration from that. It has its own uniqueness for sure.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people actually really, go along with Earthbound. But yeah, it's not really for me. It's never really been my jam. But I'm going to bring up this comment from Jess Martinez, who says, Evolution on the Dreamcast was awesome. So I didn't know that this game existed until this comment came in. Of course, Evolution, really? The World of Sacred Device is a Sega Dreamcast game. And Garrett, it looks like this. Let me just pull it up.
I'm pulling it up. Oh.
Yeah.
It's a 3D, typical...
It's like a 3D role-playing game where you're exploring dungeons.
It's a dungeon crawler in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious to know what the comment actually looks like.
Yeah, I want to see if there's some random comment. All right, cool.
No, enemies on the map.
And
you waiting for the Dreamcast to load there. And it looks like it's turn-based. Okay. You even got like the turn order on the side here.
We got the turn order. Yeah.
Old man with a gun.
Old man with a gun. I'm sold. I'm sold with this game.
Look, that seems pretty cool. Again, I didn't really know there was this was actually a game that existed, so I'm gonna have to check this out because I love the Dreamcast. So I actually want to know. I want to know more about this game.
I've only seen one Dreamcast in my life. Actually, probably not. I've only played one Dreamcast.
I was gonna say mine is right over there in the shot. It's always there.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a Dreamcast. Okay, interesting.
It is a Dreamcast. It's below my GameCube and right next to my Super Nintendo.
I just remember having a weird controller. That's all I remember.
Oh, the controller is great. You'll love it. That's so good. It got the VMU in it. You can pull it out and play some games with it.
What did I play on it? NBA Jam of some kind? Is that one? That was on the Dreamcast.
I don't know if there was an NBA. I don't think there was an NBA Jam, but there's a bunch of arcade sports games on.
Yeah, I played a basketball arcade game. At least I know that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those. But yeah, I love the Dreamcast.
Oh, wow.
It's such
it
a
looks
great
legit. 1999.
Yeah,
nice.
Well, I mean, the Dreamcast came out on 9/9/1999.
Interesting.
A day that will live in infamy.
It was also on the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Published by SNK.
I was going to say, many people did not have Neo Geo Pocket Colors here in North America. That was more of a Japan thing. So
yeah.
But cool. I learned about a new game tonight. I'm so excited. So thank you, Jess Martinez, for hopping on here and letting us know about that. But anyways, Garrett, I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. But before we go, of course, we got to say thank you to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/cartpolegaming, starting with our ultimate producers, Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the PlayStation Drive. You can find out all his music on his Linktree, linktr.ee/PME/JIB. And Cwagmire, who reminds you that the best babes are, in fact, Xenobabes. Our platinum producers, Robby, Bobby Miller, Tim Paullin, Smokin Joe, and now, newest platinum producer, Toxic, jumping on in there.
Cool.
And our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Awesome Dave 1337, BobLoblaw, Brad Moore, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, CowboyDangerD, CrocoKyle, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Emilio Kelly, Hoppel, Jan32, Patrice Mallette, Peje P, Samuel Nessling, Shane Erickson, Tech Mike, and Tim Aulph. Huge thank you once again to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. And of course, if you would like to sign up and maybe get some exclusive content yourself, head on over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Choose the tier that's right for you. And of course, Jess Martinez, of course, chimes in about Skies of Arcadia as well. Lots of people always talking about Skies of Arcadia. That's one of those games I would love to play one day. It's very expensive, so I've never actually played it. Although it has pirates in it, Garrett. You know how I feel about pirates. But
you love them. That's what you think about them.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. But Garrett, plugs go.
You can follow me on Twitter at Blind Explosion. You can also find me on in the Discord, and all the other channels in there. I read every single message on the RPG Cave. channel. And if you want to talk about all handhelds, I am there for you, sir. I am your number one guy talking about all the handhelds. You know what? I'm going to give you an update, actually, Ryan. You know, yeah, there's some latest stuff. Have you seen this Ambernick SP form factor?
I have seen that.
Okay, you got the. It looks like a Nintendo Game Boy SP.
Yep.
Now it's a little thicker, so I don't think it's right. For me personally, I need a pocketable. It doesn't look pocketable to me, but it does play up to PS1 games, so that's kind of cool. And then you got the Ion Neo 2 Mini, which basically looks like a Vita coming out. Our review units are coming out. And then also the ROG Ally X was revealed this morning, of course. $100 more for 500 gigabytes more of terabyte, 8 more gigabytes of RAM, a double capacity of the battery. I think that's it.
That's a lot of stuff though for $100.
Yeah, but now it's $800.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just saying that when you compare it to like the Steam Deck OLED,
True.
like because it's a similar kind of price hike, right? So
It's 150. So the highest Steam Deck is 650. It's 1 terabyte OLED, but it's like less powerful or less RAM or whatever. Yeah. So there you go.
Also, and also just it does struggle a little bit if you're playing Windows games. So it kind of depends on where you have your game library, right? Because if your library's on Steam, then it makes sense to get a Steam Deck, right? But
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So there you go. Let's talk all of those PC handhelds, Android handhelds.
Yeah, Star Athena, of course, chiming in there with the comment that everyone always says, but I'll just put that away there. As for me, you can find me on Twitter, aka X at Ryan Topher. And you also find us on X at Carpool Gaming, right here, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, and of course, podcast services around the globe. But also, don't forget to come back on Friday, 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/Carpool Gaming Live for Summer Game Fest. Hashtag get hyped. Hashtags the lights will dim apparently is becoming a new hashtag. It's coming along with it. Oh, you'll understand if you listen to our predictions episode. That's a reference. But for Garrett Bland, I'm Ryan Tuford. This has been level 140 of the RPG Cave. Only 10 more levels, Garrett, until level 150. And we're out. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.